Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. I make videos about Dungeons & Dragons lore full-time and have a collection of over 700 videos on monster ecology, fantasy world history, character classes and magic items on my channel. If you like what I do, please consider becoming a member of the channel by clicking the join button down below or backing me on Patreon where you get access to all of the scripts I write for these vids. Members of either also become members of the secretive Gluminati on my Discord server, and of course, subscribe to me here as I upload at least twice a week and have a live stream every weekend. Standing, at least 12 feet tall with blood-red hide toughened by scales stronger than iron. Their flesh suffused with infernal power that surges with their rage or excitement, with a pair of massive, leathery wings, rippling musculature, a heavy, prehensile tail, swept-back horns, razor-sharp talons on hands and feet, a jaw stocked with pointed teeth and 4 large fangs that drip a constant ooze of lurid green, lethal venom that hisses when it contacts the air. Their eyes burning with a bright flicker of hellfire, skulls of saints, angels and demigods decorating heavily enchanted metal belts, armbands, shin guards and crowns, glowing red-hot from their internal heat. The Pit Fiend is, by any measure, in just its physical presence alone, a mighty foe. Their regal and supremely confident bearing only adds to this intimidation, as they hook their wings together and wrap themselves in their wings like a cape, further adding to their natural armor. They have a base armor class of 19, even without powerfully enchanted accessories. They have at least 300 hit points, typically closer to 400. Despite their size, they move at 30 feet per round on foot, or 60 feet in flight, and are capable of powerful and agile leaps. Even their lowest attribute, dexterity, is still beyond human average at 14. They are ferociously strong, with a strength of 26 and size category large. A constitution of 24 allows them to shrug off pain, and they are virtually tireless. They're extremely perceptive, with 120-foot true sight, blasting straight through illusions, a passive perception of 14, and the ability to detect magic at will. Their wisdom of 18 translates into a tactical level of awareness that allows them mastery of any battlefield. They have centuries of experience with any strategy, skills or powers that any player character has to offer. Their intelligence of 22 means they will know exactly what the enemy is about to do before they do it. All Pit Fiends have a supernatural aura of fear, such that any creature hostile to the Pit Fiend that starts its turn within 20 feet of it has to make a DC 21 wisdom saving throw or become frightened until the start of its next turn. Even if a creature's saving throw is successful, they can resist the supernatural fear for the next 24 hours. The Pit Fiend still has a charisma of 24 and a +7 to any intimidation checks, so if they want to, they can still scare the piss out of the player character anytime they want. They make use of group checks when surrounded by other devils under their command, multiplying their already high chance of success. They can also opt for passive intimidation checks thanks to overt displays of violence, hostile actions and threats, which is pretty much just standard behavior for them. A Pit Fiend is intimidation incarnate, so players going up against them will have to factor in that their player character is going to be terrified, either supernaturally or quite naturally, or even thanks to some enchantment effect thanks to powerful items of evil on the Pit Fiend's person. In Dungeons & Dragons, it's quite hard to fight an enemy one is constantly running away and cowering from. I don't care how fancy your gear is, it's not much good when you simply throw it backward over your shoulder as the character runs away and wets themselves. Enemies fleeing before them is what the Pit Fiend considers to be what is best in life. The venom dripping from its fangs of the Pit Fiend is no ordinary toxin. It's a grab bag of extremely nasty poisons. It also inflicts a disease called devil chills, which traditionally saps a victim's strength attribute, while the poisons in the venom simultaneously reduce their constitution. Of course, in the current edition, the bite of the Pit Fiend is just +14 to hit on a target within 5 feet, doing 46 +8 piercing damage, plus the target must succeed on a DC 21 constitution saving throw or become poisoned, which means they have disadvantage on all attack rolls and all ability checks until they manage to make a saving throw or some restorative magic is cast on them. On top of this, the victim can't regain hit points and takes 66 poison damage at the start of each of their turns, not getting another saving throw until the end of each of their turns, and they are not immune to further poisoning from subsequent bites, so this attack is no joke. In the monster manual for the current edition, what you have here is the bare bones of what a Pit Fiend is, without any mention of magical items, arms and armour, artifacts, or whatever it has in its possession, or the fact that these creatures are only a challenge rating of 20 in a one-on-one fight. My friends, this is never going to be a one-on-one fight if you're paying attention to what the Pit Fiend really is. So let's shelve the magic resistance, the magic weapon attacks, the immunity to fire and poison, the resistance to cold, non-magical or non-silver coated physical damage, or the fact that the Pit Fiend can hurl DC 21 fireballs at will and walls of fire and hold monster spells 3 times a day, even without using class levels in wizardry and rings of spell soaring and wands and rods and so on. My job here is not to just relay the statistics and mechanics, it isn't to inspire you with the means to understand and convey what a Pit Fiend is, how it thinks and behaves, so the players, when they encounter one, get the full experience of it, as they are meant to be. Very rarely is a Pit Fiend an ascended soul from the ranks of the damned, who were sent to the Nine Hells as punishment for breaking divine laws, vows and such in their mortal life. They were either celestials who descended willingly to fight the forces of chaos, or, more likely, they were mortals who were lawful evil in life and driven by a powerful sense of purpose. When they died, they were sent to the Nine Hells as petitioners. Their former life forgotten, they were instead left with that core sense of purpose and a lack of moral or ethical concerns, driven by a sense that they are stronger, smarter and more capable than anyone else. That there is only one correct outcome, and that is them in charge and getting the actual purposes of the Nine Hells and the forces of Baator on course and winning the Blood War. Morton Canaan's Tome of Foes perfectly conveys the attitude of devils, and I'll quote it here because I couldn't have said it better myself. The devils fight as a matter of pride mixed with burning resentment for the cosmic order that refuses to acknowledge their role as overseers of the multiverse. To the devil's way of thinking, the Nine Hells are the front line in the demon's war against all of creation, and the fate of the cosmos depends on the devil's ability to blunt the invasion and send the demons back to the abyss. In fact, devils believe that the demons would have long ago swept across the multiverse but for the unflinching rule of law that underlies the actions of the infernal leaders and their armies. If necessary, a general must not hesitate to sacrifice entire legions to stall an enemy advance or punch a hole through an enemy phalanx. Iron discipline combined with a ruthless focus on victory at any cost is what fuels the devil's war machine. And bear in mind, when a devil dies in the Nine Hells, it dies for good. Every devil takes a grim pride in its service in the Blood War. Talk to one for a short time and it will reveal the scars earned during its time in Avernus and tell tales of the great battles that it has seen. They are the ultimate veterans. Talk to one for a little while longer and it will inform you that you are alive only because of the devil's heroic efforts. If there was truly justice in the world, it would tell you, the multiverse would bend its knee to the Nine Hells in thanks for the devil's role in preserving the cosmos. They are the Gondor of the multiverse. Pit Fiends are so focused on their role of negotiating the fickle ego politics of the princes of each layer of hell and the cunning manoeuvring of their fellow generals of the legions of hell for more favour and more resources to better support their own military actions, which are better than anyone else's of course, that when they get sucked through a magical portal to some mortal wizard's lair trapped in a summoning circle with foolish celestial constraints restricting and binding them inside, they are almost incoherent with anger. How dare a mortal interrupt them? How incredibly naive it is to take them away from the vital role they have in protecting the entire multiverse. Every second that they are in that circle is like a cascading disaster as their military forces are leaderless, the chain of command is broken, tactical movements stalled, defensive and offensive operations interrupted. Not only is it astoundingly arrogant for a mortal to attempt to enslave them, it's not even worth the time it would take to explain to the pea-brained little speck of goo that their insignificant concerns, tasks or commands are dooming entire worlds to becoming new layers of the abyss, new breeding grounds for demons, more gaping wounds in the multiverse that may never be recovered. Mostly, the Pit Fiend is just enraged to the point of roaring and vomiting gouts of venom while shooting fire out of their eyes, that their whole body crackles like it was a crust of red and black iron over seething lava. Any summoner who lets their protection from the telepathy of the Pit Fiend slip for even a millisecond is going to have a tsunami of terrible, terrible consequences roar into their mind as the devil shows them the cataclysmic result of taking the Pit Fiend away from its duties even for a moment. Their first step in manipulating their captor is to let them know that they are incredibly stupid, and they just basically doomed a whole world to a vile, violent, and sickening end. They will berate, they will belittle, they will insult everything about that summoner. However, they won't threaten them. Not yet, anyway. See, for every situation, the devils have worked out long ago the right way to do things, the way that gets the most surefire results, no matter who suffers as a consequence. So, the Pit Fiend is already fully prepared to negotiate and get the summoning over with as quickly and profitably as possible, the moment the summoning occurs. Before the summoner even asks a question, the Pit Fiend will know pretty much exactly what they are going to say. Sometimes the mortal won't even have a chance to say anything at all. The Pit Fiend will just grunt with annoyance, spot that the summoning circle has no protection against divine powers, crush a beautiful gemstone amulet in its fangs, release a celestial creature, command it to take the summoner to another plane of existence, and break the summoning circle, then go back to what they were doing just before the summonings happened. As the summoner just opens their mouth to shriek, the Pit Fiend is already gone. That's the best case scenario. You gotta be right on top of your summoning game to capture and compel one of these things. The good news is, they really are just usually too busy with managing the Blood War effort to bother seeking revenge against one insignificant mortal speck. They may send minions to go and do it for them. Baalors will hunt down and murder every member of the summoner's family and make them watch, but Pit Fiends just file that summoner's identity in their Aedic memory in case opportunity comes up later to take some more relaxed revenge on them. Summoning Pit Fiends has always been problematic, so much so that the powers of hell decided to grant clerics with access to the diabolic domain access to the ritual called the Investiture of the Pit Fiend. Instead of taking away a general of their armies, they instead instilled the essence of a Pit Fiend into the caster, consuming some brimstone and uttering the spell in the correct gestures and thus transforming them temporarily. The power caused some physical changes to the target. The target's mouth widened and they gained fangs that could be used as a weapon. The target gained operational wings. The target also became immune to poison and gained some resistance against fire. It was possible to enhance the latter with additional investiture magic, except another investiture of the Pit Fiend. Every 6 seconds the target could choose one additional power called an aspect. Basically aspects of the Pit Fiend's power. These aspects were called Aspect of Pestilence, Aspect of Terror, and Aspect of Tyranny. Only one aspect could be activated at a time. One choosing the Aspect of Pestilence would get to pollute the air within 10 feet of them with diseases. People who failed the Constitution saving throws would become poisoned. One choosing the Aspect of Terror would exude an aura of fear just like a Pit Fiend. And finally, one choosing the Aspect of Tyranny could enhance their physical combat prowess, and target gained claws and the ability to attack with them as well as with their wings. See, Pit Fiends can't really be spared for time-wasting summonings, and they certainly do not tolerate the interference of mortals in the affairs of the Nine Hells. The only beings that all Pit Fiends are subservient to are the Dukes, Duchesses, and Archdukes and Archdevils of Hell, fulfilling their wills and sometimes serving as seneschals or councillors. Every Pit Fiend acts as a vassal for an Archdevil and controls a large domain within their lands, whether in the role of a commander of a fortress, a governor of a city, or a general of a legion. Asmodeus, of course, is the only Archdevil that possesses a retinue of over 12 powerful Pit Fiends with him all the time, and even they are seldom encountered alone. They almost always have a large retinue of other devils nearby, including Galugons and Erinyes, who are in line to be promoted to Pit Fiends eventually in their own right, as well as imp messengers, horned and barbed devil officers, chain devil enforcers, bone devil bounty hunters, and some rank-and-file bearded and barbed devils serving a variety of roles, often in charge of a force of slaves and lower petitioners who may be serving as little more than paperweights and pawns on a strategic battle map, ordered to move around to indicate the position of enemy or allied forces. In most cases, it is unlikely that an adventurer is ever going to live long enough to contend with a Pit Fiend one-on-one in combat at all after they've made their way through teeming forces of the Nine Hells. Galugons, otherwise known as the insectoid ice devils, and the angelic-looking Erinyes are under the rank of a Pit Fiend. They do aspire to the role. However, the final process for becoming a Pit Fiend requires an ordeal that is absolutely the very definition of a trial by fire. Literally. The prospective Pit Fiend willingly dives into a pit of eternal hellfire, which scorches them with supernatural flame that burns all things, including devils, for the next 1001 days. That's 2 years and 9 months of absolute agony, where every shred of doubt and mercy is completely stripped away from their soul, and they emerge refined and tempered into absolute lawful evil. There is an alternative method that is available only to the ruler of the Nine Hells. Asmodeus need only wound his finger and bleed out a drip of blood, which can then incarnate a full Pit Fiend, fanatically loyal and able to in turn spawn their own lesser devils, normally Barbatzus, aka the bearded devils, through spilling and transforming their own blood. This is possible for those of you who watched my video on petitioners, because Asmodeus has absorbed the souls of many loyal and perfected Pit Fiends over the eons. They are a part of him, providing him with immense power and awareness, and over time have elevated him to godhood. Asmodeus is not just one divine soul, he's a gestalt of thousands and thousands of Pit Fiends who all think and act with a singular, completely focused purpose. So when one is separated and incarnated in a body again, of course it's completely loyal to Asmodeus. It is Asmodeus. Only the greatest Pit Fiends are granted the honour of merging with Asmodeus, or given the full rank of an Archduke or Duke of Hell, given a unique form and their own personality traits and abilities. There have been countless named and infamous Pit Fiends. I have formerly mentioned the Dark Eight, a group of Pit Fiends generals, like the Dread Pirate Roberts from The Princess Bride, assuming the identity of original Pit Fiend Dark Eight member and providing the illusion of stability and invincibility that surrounds these legendary figures. There is the rare instance of a Pit Fiend who is in service to another deity, the Devil Tanatal, who served the god Bane and was put into service of the Red Wizard Marcus under Bane's orders. But the one I will single out and talk in a little more detail of is Bel, former Archduke of the first layer of the Nine Hells, basically prior to being ousted by the fallen angel Zariel. Unlike other elevated Pit Fiend Archdukes, Bel spent all of his time focused on winning the Blood War and not consolidating his own power in the form of establishing a mortal cult that worshipped him, which would later then, go through the process of becoming petitioners and merging with him, etc., etc. In a twisted turn of events typical of the Nine Hells, he started off his career as a Pit Fiend by serving under Zariel, betraying her and usurping her throne, attempting to imprison her to absorb all of her power, which earned him his Archduke promotion and favour from Asmodeus for a particularly cunning form of treachery. However, none of the other archdevils trusted him as far as they could spit him, convinced he had somehow worked out a way to break infernal law. After all, he is one of the most intelligent Pit Fiends ever to rise up through the ranks, and his military strategy is impeccable. For example, when he did seize power, he also took the opportunity to wipe out all the secret agents of other Archdukes of Hell that had been placed in his and Zariel's forces, leaving him pretty much untouchable when he assumed command. His perfect strategy did give him the support of the Dark Eight though, so that he had some powerful friends, so to speak, and he even managed to start forging an alliance with Tiamat when she could be bothered entertaining guests in her domain in Avernus. Even though Bel had risen all the way up from the ranks from Lemure to Pit Fiend to Archduke of Hell, Asmodeus considered him lacking certain qualities and vision, so he decided that Bel's tactics were inadequate in defending Avernus from demon incursions, and he stepped in to reinstate Zariel as ruler of Avernus, but keeping Bel as an advisor. Zariel has always seen Tiamat as a major threat to her rule, and went about encouraging the reformation of the cult of the dragon on Toril, within the ranks of the Red Wizards of Fae, and saw to it that they summoned Tiamat to the Primaterial world, diverting all Tiamat's attentions away from Avernus and removing all of her support of Bel, who had gained the nickname the Pretender from the other Archdukes of Hell. That is cutting a very long saga very short, but you get the general idea, and hopefully have a better understanding of how to portray a Pit Fiend to your players if they encounter one in your campaigns. Please hit the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Patreon for all the full scripts for these videos, subscribe to Viewer Prime with my sign-up code AJ Pickett for a 5-day free trial and low price of $4 per month for my best content, as well as some other channels on the ever-growing lineup, including lingerie wrestling. Buy some sweet merchandise from my Teespring shop, wear your geek with pride. And as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.